This came from Rob Motti of the AP. It's a list of potential additions to replay review for 2026. Crackback blocks, low blocks and clipping, blindside blocks, intentional grounding to determine the receiver's position on the field. That's good. That gets back to the intentional grounding snafu from a week and a half ago when Terry McCauley got on the NBC broadcast and said they blew it when they called intentional grounding on the Commanders because the receiver was outside the numbers and you're allowed by rule to throw the ball as far over his head as you want as long as it's in the direction of a receiver outside the numbers. Also illegal formation on kickoffs. Here's the problem with this a little here and a little there and a little there expansion of replay. We get to a point where we don't know what is and what isn't reviewable. Why don't they look at all the rules and just identify the handful that aren't and never will be, and everything else is?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Because right now, when you get these situations where, that is a mistake, but it's not subject to review, well, why isn't it? Why isn't it? Well, we haven't gotten around to changing the rules to allow it. When you start from, we're going to have a few, and every year we may add one or two, you're going to miss some. And then we find out, there's a flaw. We better fix that. It's reactive, not proactive. That's one of my big complaints about the NFL. Never proactive, always reactive. And the fact that the ability to have replay review for intentional grounding to determine the position of receiver, that's a reaction to the flaw that was exposed in the Week 13 Sunday night game between the Broncos and the Commanders. Let's make everything reviewable with a few exceptions. Bill Belichick has been pushing for that for years, or had been. Obviously, it's not part of his gig anymore. But he'd wanted everything to be potentially reviewable. The one thing that was a disaster was pass interference. I still think that they made it a disaster so they could go back to having no replay review for pass interference. That's just my own hypothesis. But let's make everything reviewable with a few exceptions, and let's explain why those won't be reviewable.
Right.
And let's just leave it at that. This drip of expanding it isn't good for anyone.
No, you're right, and you're right too. It leads to confusion by the people in the NFL, coaches, players, fans, right? We're not sure. Wait, are they allowed to talk to 345? Wait, I thought they weren't allowed to talk to about 345 on this, but they're doing it anyways. So it is a little all over the place there.
Yeah.
And I think you're on the right track with what you said there.
Yeah, just like the illegal formation call against the Lions, Week 5,
right,
Sunday night. Dan Campbell said they got help from New York. That was a situation where they shouldn't.
Right.
Well, why not? Why not? Get help on everything. Let's get it right. And this weird, we can do it here, but we can't do it there, that feeds into this idea, this vague tinfoil hat notion that someone is rigging these games. That's the problem. And the NFL needs to embrace that and deal with that, not act like it isn't happening. This was what they feared when they hated gambling. And now that gambling is here and they're stuffing millions into their pockets, and owners can own up to 5% of sports books or companies that operate sports books, and they won't tell us who owns what. That's all the more reason to take this more seriously, make everything reviewable with a small handful of exceptions, and let's go forward. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.